All right, let's dive into an incredible story of intrigue, danger, and some serious courage. We're talking about a young woman who, against all odds, finds herself in a position to save her entire people. But the catch? Doing it would almost certainly cost her her own life.
I mean, really think about that for a second. For our hero, this wasn't just some abstract idea. This was her reality. The choice was terrifyingly simple: stay quiet and safe, or speak up and face death. What would you do?
So let's set the stage. Our story starts in the massive, powerful Persian Empire way back around 500 BC. This place was huge, ruled by the formidable king Ahasuerus from his palace in the capital city of Susa. So the king, well, he needs a new queen after he got rid of the last one. His solution? A kingdom-wide beauty pageant across all 127 provinces. And who gets swept up in this? A young Jewish orphan named Esther. Now, here's the crucial part. Her cousin Mordecai tells her, whatever you do not tell anyone you're Jewish. She keeps the secret, and unbelievably, out of all the women, the king chooses her. Just like that, an orphan with a hidden identity becomes the queen of the most powerful empire in the world. Okay, so Esther's on the throne. But every good story needs a villain, right? Well, enter a man named Haman. He gets promoted to the highest official in the kingdom, and his ego is absolutely massive. And that pride, well, that's where all the trouble really begins.
The king issues a command. Everyone has to bow down to Haman. But one person refuses: Esther's cousin, Mordecai. For him, it's a matter of faith. He will only bow to his God. Now, to Haman, this isn't just disrespectful. It's a personal insult, and it fills him with this dark, murderous rage.
And this is where things get really ugly. Haman's personal grudge against one man blows up into a monstrous plot. He decides, I'm not just going to destroy Mordecai, I'm going to destroy his entire people. So he goes to the king with a bunch of lies, saying there's this rebellious group threatening the kingdom. He actually convinces the king to sign a decree to have them all annihilated. And it works. A decree is sent out, sealed with the king's own ring. Now, in the Persian Empire, a law sealed like that was irreversible. It was set in stone. Not even the king himself could take it back. A date was officially set for the state-sponsored murder of every single Jewish man, woman, and child in the empire. You can just imagine the panic when Mordecai finds out. He's devastated. He knows there's only one person on earth who might have a chance to stop this. He gets a message to Queen Esther, telling her, you have to go to the king. You have to do something. The fate of their entire people is now squarely on her shoulders. But here's the impossible problem. In the Persian court, nobody, and I mean nobody, not even the queen, could just walk up to the king without being summoned. It was the law. And the punishment for breaking it? Immediate death. Unless, by some chance, the king held out his golden scepter. Esther hadn't even been called to see him in a month. So for her to just show up, it was basically a suicide mission. So facing this absolutely terrifying choice, what does Esther do? She doesn't just run in blindly. She comes up with a plan. This isn't just a desperate plea. It's a brilliant, strategic, and incredibly risky gambit. Her plan has three main steps. First, she tells Mordecai to have all the Jews in the city fast and pray with her for 3 days. She's building up spiritual strength for what's coming. Next, she's going to take that life-or-death walk into the king's court. But, and this is the clever part, she's not going to blurt out her request. Instead, she's going to invite the king and, crucially, Haman to a private banquet. And then, she's going to invite them to a second one. So, she puts on her royal robes and approaches the throne. The tension must have been unbearable, but the king sees her, is captivated, and holds out the golden scepter. She's safe. He asks her what she wants, even offers her half the kingdom. But she just invites him and Haman to a banquet. And then, at that banquet, she does it again, invites them to another banquet the next day. It's a masterful move that builds suspense and completely puts Haman at ease, thinking he's the guest of honor. Now, this is where the story takes a turn that you just couldn't make up. In that one single night between the two banquets, a series of, let's call them coincidences, starts to unfold. It really feels like fate, or maybe something more, is stepping in. Get this, the king can't sleep that night. So, to kill time, he has the royal records read to him. And what story just happens to come up? The one about how Mordecai uncovered an assassination plot and saved the king's life. The king suddenly realizes, hey, we never did anything to reward that guy. The very next morning, Haman shows up all ready to ask the king's permission to execute Mordecai. But before Haman can even open his mouth, the king asks him a question. The king asks, Haman, what should be done for the man the king truly delights to honor? While Haman's ego goes into overdrive, he thinks, obviously he's talking about me. So he describes the most over-the-top public celebration he can imagine. Put the man in the king's own robes, on the king's horse, and have a top official lead him through the city shouting about how much the king honors him.
And then comes the ultimate ironic twist. The king says, great idea. Go and do all of that for Mordecai the Jew. The shock must have been unreal. Haman is forced to publicly parade his mortal enemy through the streets, celebrating him just hours before he was planning to have him executed. The humiliation is absolute. That night, a completely humiliated Haman shows up for Esther's second banquet. The stage is now perfectly set. The king, feeling great, looks at his queen and asks again, "What is it you want, my dear? Anything. It's yours." This is it. The moment of truth has finally come. And summoning all of her courage, Esther finally speaks. She doesn't ask for gold or land. She asks for her life and the lives of her people. For the first time, she reveals that she is one of them. She is Jewish. She tells the king that they've all been sold out to be destroyed by a wicked, evil man. The king is floored. Who? Who would dare do such a thing? He demands. And Esther points right at the other guest at the table. The enemy is this vile Haman. The king's shock instantly turns into pure rage. In a swift, dramatic turn, he orders Haman to be executed on the very gallows that Haman had built for Mordecai. So, Haman is gone. But remember that unchangeable law? The decree to destroy the Jews is still active. Esther's work isn't quite done, but her bravery has now paved the way for an incredible victory. So, while the old law couldn't be canceled, a new one could be written. Mordecai is promoted to Haman's old job, and together he and Esther issue a new decree. This one gives the Jewish people the right to assemble and to defend themselves. The genocidal plot is completely flipped on its head. A day that was supposed to be for their destruction becomes a day of their greatest victory. And this amazing story isn't just something left in ancient history books. It is remembered and celebrated every single year in the Jewish festival of Purim. It's a time of joy, celebrating the courage of one woman and the miraculous rescue of her people from the very brink of extinction. You know, the story of Esther is such a powerful example of how one person's courage, when used wisely, can change everything. It can dismantle evil. And it really leaves us with a question to think about in our own lives. When you see something wrong, what courage can you show for others? Thanks for watching.